So last night I had a little dinner here on Eastern Long Island, and there were urchins, there in the dinner. High school kids and middle school with their parents and running around. And they're very interested in my upcoming book, Confronting Evil. Okay, because we got Hitler on the cover, we got Mao, we got Stalin, we got Putin. And then there's 12 other guys inside the book that are as evil as you can possibly imagine. Anyway, what's about? These are kids are asking me. And I'm trying to explain it to them. They knew nothing about even Hitler. And I said, don't they teach you that? No, not taught. And then I looked at the parents, and the parents kind of embarrassed. And I said, well, it's hard to engage these kids in conversation because they're always on the phone. Every waking moment they're in the house. They don't watch TV anymore. Not watching TV. They're not reading books. They're on this. And it's very hard to get them away from that. Okay. And I think that is an accurate assessment of where we are in America. So there is a new study comes out of the University of Southern California. The Financial Times printed it, about 15,000 younger people, about the effects of the phone. And here are the highlights. 20 to 30-year-olds report being more easily distracted and careless. I see that in my own urchins. Okay? They're on the phone, they forget they got to clean their room or whatever they have to do. Reduced tenacity and follow through on commitments. So yeah, I'm going to do this, Dad, and it doesn't get done because they forget because they're on the phone. Okay? Then there is higher anxiety levels. Why? Why would that be? Because there's so much stuff they don't understand and so much negativity on the phones. Bullying, huge. Little kids getting bullied by name, getting destroyed in their communities, and kids are anxious about it. And less outgoing, people, they stay in the house instead of going out, jumping in the ocean or the pool or playing stickball and the stuff we didn't know. Nope. In the room with the phone. So joining us guy now from Brooklyn, New York is Colby Hall. You may know him. He's the founding editor of Media. He wrote a column on how all of this stuff is going to negatively affect the United States big time, and it's coming up fast. Should I have included anything else in my lead before we get to the specifics?
No, I mean, I think you set it up wonderfully, but I also think that in one level, this is kind of obvious to anyone that has kids, or you go outside, you go to the park, everyone's on their phone. With the study, I thought sort of hung a lantern on was just how bad it's gotten. And no one's really talking about what an enormous, not just a generational shift, but a millennial historic shift. And we should start to talk about it because I fear it's going to get worse before it gets better.
But there has been talk in New York State, for example. There's a new law that bans phones in school during class time. They are concerned about the distraction, they being the authorities, but it hasn't risen to the level that parents are banging the emergency bell. And that's what I'm seeing. They allow the urchins to do this because if they don't, there's tension in the house. There's angst. Now with me, that never worked because I don't care about angst. So I'm going, there's no phones at the table, and it never was. And that put the phone down is one of my favorite phrases. And do this. But I'm a martinet, word of the day. But most parents, they let the kids do it. So I think it's the parents' fault. And I do think it's going to adversely affect this country.
Well, I think you're right. I think it's everyone's fault, but the parents are the ones that are responsible, right? I also abide by a no phones at the dining room table ethos as well. And I'm proud to say my 22-year-old reads books. He's a big reader. My 18-year-old is not. And maybe that's because one just graduated from college, the other's about to go to college. But this is an issue where we need to figure out how we the genie is out of the bottle. The genie's out of the bottle and has got his own TikTok account and is distracted enough to try to solve this, right? I put in my column that I compared it to the Gutenberg, inventing of the printing press, which, changed it started the Renaissance. It spread knowledge and understanding of Christianity, and so many great things came from it. But the effect of that took centuries to unfold and for people to read across the world. This is the same thing, but it's unfolded over a decade, right? And so there's been no guardrails. There's been no sort of, you can't really regulate it because it is what it is. I think you make a very salient point that parents need to take a lead role and be a lot stricter about this. And I happen to think, I've done some research on this in the New York public schools. Turns out, who's the biggest fan of not allowing phones in schools are many of the students, because they want to have a break. The isolationism and the anxiety, the lack of consciousness. I think a lot of these kids that are addicted to their phones, they're somewhat aware of it. And when you force them to detox and, I don't know, play a parlor game or spend quality time with your parents or your friends, or, I sent my kids to summer camp mostly so that they wouldn't be on their phones and they would be playing, pick up baseball, wiffle ball, swimming, fishing, what have you. Not everyone has that opportunity, but I don't know what's the solution. I think we are at a point where we need to recognize it so we can try to detoxify our brains before it's too late, because I think we're raising a generation of zombies who don't even know what's wrong with them, right?
and and
And I
they're
think
and they're not getting stronger. This makes you weaker. It makes you weaker
right,
mentally, and it makes you weaker physically because you're not out there exercising or anything like that. It's easy to isolate yourself in your room with the phone. And my 22-year-old, who I think is smarter than I am, he doesn't read many books, but he does research, and
right.
good research, on the stupid phone. But I have to explain to him that, look, you got to broaden it out, particularly if you want to be president of the United States, which I think he's got a shot at. All right. You can't just be a phone addict. Now, the thing that concerns me the most about mental health, and that's big in this country now, with all the addiction we're seeing, with all this violence we're seeing across our country, we are the most addicted, violent country in the world. Okay? We are. And that's shocking because we are based on Judeo-Christian philosophy. But the urchins don't even know what Judeo-Christian philosophy is. Okay? They don't know. Homeowners, when is the last time you checked on your home title? If your answer is never, then this is for you. Scammers are stealing titles, and your equity is a target. Criminals forge your signature. Just like that, your home title can be transferred out of your name. That's why I partnered up with Home Title Lock, so you can find out today if you're already a victim. Please use my promo code BILL at HometitleLock.com, and you'll get a free title history report. Plus, you will get a free trial of their $1 million triple lock protection. That's 24/7 monitoring of your title, urgent alerts of any changes, and if fraud does happen, they'll spend up to $1 million to fix it. That's HometitleLock.com, promo code BILL. So when I was teaching high school, I saw the bullying in the halls. I saw it. I stopped it. And I was stopped it sometimes in a very confrontational way. Now the bullying is on a machine. And they can tear kids apart, leading to suicides and all of that. And a lot of the kids don't tell their parents. They're afraid to tell their parents. All right, because they think the parents are going to run down to the school, or they're going to run to the kids' parents, and they're going to make it worse. That, I think, is one of the most dangerous aspects of this phone culture.
I couldn't agree more. And I think, you've worked in the media space for a long time, as have I. You've developed a certain level of skepticism, and you have a critical mind, and you can smell a scam a mile away, right? These young teenagers don't have that. They don't have the wisdom of those experiences. I mean, I've made a lot of mistakes in my life, right? And that's made me smarter, right? And I can see, a phishing scheme, a spam, some sort of, attack to try to steal your data. I can see that coming. A lot of these kids can't. Two other things. I mean, I think there's been this rise of, I was talking about this with Jonah Goldberg yesterday, who was he was a conservative thinker. He started National Review Online, and he was kind of like a comedian. He was sort of a troll, and now he can't do that because the trolling behavior from the extreme left and the extreme right has kind of ruined it for everyone. It's no longer funny, it's just mean spirited. And I don't think that kids are equipped to handle that. And then the one last thing I would say, this isolationism. People just get lost in their own phones. They don't want to
Yeah,
engage in the outer world.
right.
And there's a lack of community. There's no faith-based living. There's no churches. People don't go to church anymore. And so there's a lack of community that is helping. Not every parent can do it on their own, but if there's elders in the community that can help out, that's gone away also. So it's a kind of a perfect storm of negative influences. I feel bad for our kids. We shouldn't blame them. They're
Yeah,
kind
and
of
as in a free society, there isn't legislation that can stop it, and the cruelty
right,
factor is rising. So, because every tape of somebody being cruel is on that machine,
right,
TikTok or whatever it is. So, the more cruel you are to your fellow man, the more
right,
exposure you're going to get, and that they're just absorbing it like this. And it's real. It's not movie. It's not
no,
Terminator. Okay, this is real. And now the anesthesia fills in. I've seen it so much it doesn't even affect me anymore. So
right.
I don't know what the solution is. I know you can't legislate against the First Amendment. I do like all of this school stuff. No phones while classes are underway. And I think that we have to spread the word that parents have a responsibility. But the irony is, some of the parents are worse addicted than their kids. Last word.
I think you're absolutely right. I think we can't solve this problem immediately, but recognizing it is the first step and calling out adults to parent is a major first step and take it from there.
All right. Thanks, Colby. Appreciate it very much.